Hi everybody, TJ Mac Vintage Cards and Nostalgia here, and I hope everybody's having an enjoyable holiday weekend. Now for me it's been quite busy over the past month or so. I've been traveling much of the month for my job, and three of my kids have been playing sports. My two middle kids have been playing high school and middle school baseball and softball. So when I'm home, my wife and I have been running kids to practices and games, which it's all great stuff, but it certainly keeps you busy, and it's not going to get any easier anytime soon because we got more sports coming up, and my oldest daughter's graduation, and just a lot of exciting, fun things ahead of us. But like I said, it certainly keeps you going. But anyway, I wanted to do a second video coming out of the weekend here, and this video was inspired by a video I saw from Brandon with the channel Brandon's Baseball Cards. And Brandon's an awesome guy who collects primarily vintage, unopened baseball rack packs. So if you haven't checked his channel out, I recommend that you do so. I put a link to the video I'm going to talk about down below, and you may want to consider subscribing to him if you like his content. So in this video, Brandon was talking about how he doesn't like when collectors acquire an item and saying it's going in their forever PC. Now, Brandon doesn't care much for the term because, in his view, there really is no such thing. Even if you own an item for the rest of your life, chances are your kids won't keep them. He also said that money matters, which, of course, I agree with, and that for the right price, most items can be sold. Now, theoretically, that's true, but collectors do have items that are irreplaceable, and I doubt they would part with them. Now, overall, Brandon is right that there is no such thing as a forever PC if you take that term literally. But I believe it to be more of a figurative term to signify how much a person loves the item that they acquire and that they plan to keep it for a long time. If it were literal, then no item anyone owns would be considered forever. But I think we use a lot of hyperbole in this hobby, and I commented to Brandon in his video that oftentimes we do that, and hyperbole, of course, is an exaggeration. But what I wanted to do is, the video got me really thinking as I was driving around the past week or so, traveling, and it got me thinking about my collection and really when in my collection would be a forever PC type items. And I wanted to use this video to share that with my kids. So what I plan to do is I'm going to show off 5 items today, and there's nothing here that I have never shown in a video in the past. But as we've talked about, and I did this recently with John, Wade Boggs fan, and Don of Don Fields of Dreams, everything we show, pretty much somebody has shown before or we've seen in our lifetime, unless it's a real obscure items. But it's really the connections and the stories that we have with our cards that really resonate with people in the community. Certainly, I would think the people that have subscribed to my channel, because I don't really talk about much else other than history and connections to cards and artwork and things like that. I'm not really somebody that delves into investment and those types of things. So I have these 5 items that I want to show, and what I plan on doing is talking a little bit about each of them, and then I'm going to take printouts of all of these items and I'm going to show them. I'm going to put them in an envelope, and I'm going to tell a little bit about them, and I'm going to put a link to this video in that envelope and seal it and put it in my safe. So the day I'm no longer here, my kids can open that up, and then they would see these items and what they really meant to me as a collector, and what they meant to me really as a child growing up, and also to other members of my family. These 3 cards right here are just very special to me because of what they signify. And they're not cards that I've had in my collection ever since I was a child. They're cards I've gotten later in life, but they have special meaning and a place in my collection, and they're cards that I want to see hopefully staying with my family for many years to come. Of course, my children can do whatever they want with these items. I've never told them to keep things of ours after we're gone. They got to blaze their own trail in life and do what they need to do. But if they're going through all these cards that I have, I wanted to show these 3 as being ones of particular special meaning to me. And the first, of course, is Tom Landry. This is his 51 Bowman rookie card. And I've talked about him in recent videos and what the Cowboys meant to me as a kid growing up in the late 70s and 80s. And he was really that rock of that team. He personified the Cowboys, and he just carried himself with dignity and class. He was later in life, I just learned about what a good Christian he was and things like that. So he just really embodies a lot of things that are important to me as a person, certainly in adulthood. But I was in awe of him as a child and what the Cowboys represented. So I would hope this card would stay within the family, because this is something that I bought with particular importance and meaning to me. And then the card in the middle has a lot of meaning, because Mickey Mantle was my father's favorite player, like many kids of his era. And he was just a special person. The charisma that he carried himself with, the relatability of him, and then also that superhero quality of what he could do on a baseball field. And he's almost what they would consider like a baseball god in a lot of ways, just with the gifts that he's been given. And he was certainly looked up to by a lot of kids, not only of the generation he played, but there were many that looked up to him in my generation just because we collected cards, and he was really the gold standard for cards, just like he still is to this day. And my father wore his number when he played baseball. My son wears his number. My oldest son does, wears his number when he plays baseball today. So this is a card that I certainly would like to see stay within the family, because this was his Triple Crown year. This is my favorite card of Mantle, my favorite card in the hobby, period. And I paid, and I don't talk about prices a lot, but I think it's important here for what I'm doing. I paid about $550 for this card about 17 or 18 years ago, and I saved up for this card. I don't have a lot of cards that I pay a lot of money for, and this was one that really took some time. And we talk about condition a lot and things like that, but these cards certainly transcend that. And I just love having this card in my collection. And then the one here on the right is the Ted Williams 1954 Topps. And this was given to me by my wife for my 30th birthday. And he reminds me of my grandfather, Ted Williams, just his gruff nature. And he was a big, tall guy. And he could be a little, moody at times. And but deep down, you knew he was a good person. And he just has a special meaning to me for that reason. And being this card came from my wife for my 30th birthday, it's certainly one that I hope stays within the family far after I'm gone. This Mickey Mantle card here belonged to my father. When I used to go to his house, he would have it sitting in his curio cabinet with some other Mantle items and just a little bit of baseball memorabilia. He wasn't really a big collector, but he had a few small shelves in his house that he would store things on. I would see it over the many years that I would come over to visit. And then in 2014, my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And what he did during that time is he would write letters to each of our family members, my brother, myself, and then the grandkids. They were real young at the time, so they didn't really know what was going on. But he saved these letters, and again, they didn't understand it at the time, but I'm glad he did this so later in life they can know what he thought of them when he was towards the end of his life. And he gave them each something, and then what he gave me was this Mickey Mantle card that I would often see when I would go to his house. And he wrote me a real nice letter that I could never read on here. It's just personal and private, and I don't think I could get through it. But I do keep the letter with the card, and it's just one that has very special meaning to me. And I've talked about in a video how the '67 season was the year that Mantle hit his 500th home run. And just there's a little bit of a sadness that I have with that because of this card and the meaning that it has. So whenever I see that video of him hitting the 500th home run on YouTube, I think of this card and I think of my dad. So it's a good memory, but a sad memory in some ways too. But this is a card that certainly I'd want to keep in my family, and it's one that, again, just has such deep meaning to me. The last item I want to share is this April 18th, 1955 Sports Illustrated. And I've shown this a few times because I've built a theme around this magazine with the Al Rosen card, and then my friend Mike from Canadian Cards had given me an autograph of this, of a print of this cover that I display with the cover and the card. And this is an original April 18th, 1955 Sports Illustrated newsstand issue, meaning there's no subscription label on it. And my father-in-law bought this magazine in 1955 from the newsstand because Al Rosen was his favorite player. And he kept it in a drawer for all the years of his life pretty much until towards the end when he gave his magazine collection to our family. And this is the one that I treasure the most. It's not necessarily my favorite magazine of the collection, but it's the one that has the most special meaning because it's one that he owned and it was of his favorite player. And just like the Tom Landry signified the connection to me, it goes back to what I talked about in a video with heroes and just the connections that we make and how our heroes stay with us. And this is just a very special magazine to me. And then hopefully as my kids hear more about this magazine through this video, they'll come to appreciate it as well. Because I think as we grow older, we become more sentimental, and the items that have meaning to us have even deeper meaning, I think, later in life. And this is why I think this video is important for me to do. So I want to thank Brandon for putting his video out, and I don't know if he intended it to have this result for me in my life, but it really did get me thinking, and I just want to thank him for that. And I do believe that I don't think he really thinks that there is no such thing as forever PC. I think he thinks, like I think, it's an overused term, and it's in reality there are some items that are very special to us that would never leave our collections. So with that, everybody have a great day, and we'll talk again soon.